I'm Artur Sousa. I'm the founder of Adopets, and we have a pet adoption management system that supports shelters and rescues to engage with their adopters, getting more animals home and engaging with their communities.
Hello, my beautiful friend. How are you doing?
Hey, Jody, I'm good. I mean, all things considered, we're working, we are doing our best.
Doing your best. Thank you for having time to have this little conversation. I know you have two little ones at home, and I know you're running a
Yeah,
business, so I appreciate this.
it's always
Let's.
my pleasure.
Oh my God, thank you. Let's start with this company of yours. I mean, why did you start this company? Well, I mean, who are you? Where did you start? And why did you decide to stop whatever you were doing and then do this?
I have a bit of an unconventional story, but in summary, I'm from Brazil originally, spent some time in a few other countries and end up in the US where I settled my roots and decided living here. I used to work at Mesh Challenge before doing this project. Actually, at the same time as doing this project, we started after we adopted a pet. My wife and I, before kids, let's adopt a dog for practice. And we adopted this beautiful albino black lab that is named Frisco. And then Frisco was such an incredible, he is a piece of joy and light in our lives. But the process itself was pretty crappy. And we get to going through that process and thinking, how can I help? And I was working MS Challenge. I was surrounded by this really bright minds and technology people, and I started just working on that project. And a couple years ago, I decided to go full time and making sure that we use the technology, what we have best in the technology area, to serve shelters, rescues, and people looking to adopt pets. We actually have over 60% of all new pet parents are coming from the adoption, but the adoption field is so underserved when it comes to the technology, and we could fix that. We could give them really incredible tools to increase their life-saving activities at the same time as building a really awesome company. So that's what we did.
So I want you to explain a little bit more about what the crappy part was, because I mean, you see so many people adopting, and people just, I mean, like people just like post on Facebook, like, look, I adopted a dog, I adopted a cat, etc. What is that process that is your pain point that you had to solve?
Yeah. So that changed over time as we evolved the company, what we're really trying to solve. What led me to start was that we were, of course, as almost anyone nowadays, first looking at the animal online. And you'll find a lot of really awesome websites listing available pets, but then you have to read each pet's information and reach out separately to each individual organization, most of which will have, a PDF on their website or maybe a Google form that you can fill it up. And you need to do that every time for every pet that you're interested in, because not necessarily the one you reach out to is going to be the one you're adopting. So you're doing that for a portion of animals, which also means for a portion of different organizations. And then that means a variety of different processes that we're going through. At that time, what happened to us is that a couple we never heard back from, a few that we heard back from, the process was long, very long. And we are talking about an emotional process here. And when you decide to buy a pet, it's this really quick process. You go in, find out, pay, get a pet home. So why is buying a pet, which is not ideal, easier than adopting a pet? So that was the math in my head when we started working the project. And at the time, nowadays, the pain that we're focusing on is really the operational efficiency of the shelter themselves, knowing that, especially now in times of social distancing and closed doors, how do we really create an experience for adopters that means less time spent on the adoption process, bureaucracy itself, and more time spent with the animals. And that's really where we shine.
Beautiful. How big is your team? Like, I mean, how big is your team, and how are they dealing with what's happening right now? Like, how are you taking care of everyone?
So 3 months ago, our team was 14 people. Today is 17. As of Monday, we're gonna be 20. Um,
Growing. You are growing despite this. Yes, you're growing.
yes, we are. Thankfully, we are. And we were lucky because we built our entire company on a remote culture, and then all of our processes are designed to be. We have people everywhere, and that's literally everywhere. I think we only have a couple of people that are in the same city or same states even. But the majority of people just spread around, and we were already used. Our processes were already designed to be remote, so it didn't affect the way we work. It did affect how we worked and engaged with our community, because there were lots of the onboarding process and trainings that happened in person uh, um, that now had to be transferred to online. So it didn't change a little bit of how we worked externally, but internally it didn't really affect how we work. But of course, there's anxiety. People deal with this, pandemic in different ways when it comes down to emotional health and mental health, and we have to be flexible and understanding how people are being affected by this differently. We had team members that had, grandparents that passed due to COVID, and family members that got. So there were some sensitivities that we have to be highly aware and supportive of.
One of the biggest things that came out of this, which I think it's beautiful, but again, I'm a person that's watching it on TV, and it's a great story. All these dogs being adopted, all these cats all these animals being adopted. What happens afterwards? I mean, people are excited about that. So can you walk us through the process? Because I think that's one of the things where everyone knows at Christmas time, don't get them the puppy, because they usually end up, not always, but usually end up in a shelter. In this situation, everyone's home. And I've been saying, wow, those pets are going to really freak out when everyone goes back to work, because they've had this constant attention every single day. They've been getting the little foods and little snacks and the walks. But what about those animals that are being adopted as well? So can you talk to me about, like, what do you tell people for both? What are you going to do when you have to go back to work and your animal's at home and they're going to feel the same anxiety that you're feeling? And what happens to a lot of those people that I have to take this pet back?
It's a great point. I think there's so many variables in that context. Basically, we are looking at, we don't know what life is going to be, or how it's going to really be after this is over. It doesn't entirely goes back to what it was before, and that's big question mark, as well as the when of it. When it comes down to the processes and the experience of adopting, one really interesting thing that we saw is that the animal welfare industry was so resilient in this process that what really grew a lot was foster parents. So that reality of, yes, I'm going to go back to work, but for as long as I am working from home, I will have this pet with me, but it's not an adoption per se. I'm fostering this pet, so this pet is not in the shelter. It's engaging with the family. It's increasing the opportunity for that animal to be adopted for a variety of reasons. But the fostering grew so much during this pandemic that most shelters don't have enough animals to be fostered outside. So you have this number of shelters that are like empty technically, but the animals are still at their, under their care, but they are at a foster parent house instead of being at the shelter. And this is amazing for the industry. It's something that it has been a priority for a few years. And if it wasn't for some, it became a priority because of the pandemic. And it's how it should actually be when it comes down to the industry moving forward, with really relying on the foster care, which is much better for the animals themselves. So with that, I have a little bit of, a peaceful mind when it comes down to what happens after, because most of these people are doing foster. It's natural that the animal will go back to the shelter when things come to normal, but it gave that animal 2-3 months of living with a family, of less psychological trauma of being isolated in a shelter, and it helps the people, right? It helps them, and there's emotional traumatizing for most times of pandemic, that they now have this emotional companion by their sides during this time. So this is something that I'm actually very supportive of. It will happen, Jodi. It will happen that people that adopted and on the, oh my God, I need a pet, and they don't think of fostering and instead adopted. It will happen, but I don't think it will happen in such extreme numbers that it was wrong decision. I think that the majority of people will actually not be able to detach themselves from the animals that that stuck around them through these emotional times. And the animals are resilient. They will get used to having less of the attention, but they're still at a good, hopefully a good house.
I think that one of the things that I always have in the back of my mind and in my heart is that um, individuals that brought someone home will probably say, like, I can't give you back. I mean, coming home to that empty house is just going to be really, really hard for a lot of people, that they're like, you know what, I'm not giving back this, like, this person, this like little animal that literally just like changed my life. Even if it was like rocky at the beginning, it was just like, just to know that I'll figure it out. I'll find a way. I'll leave my apartment, where a lot of people are saying how maybe being in an apartment in the city is not what I want anymore because of this pandemic, and being in a home where I can have a pet might be the best bet. You are at home, you work virtually, but you have the little ones at home. So how has it been running your business, taking care of your team, making sure all these pets are being like taken care of, and having your two little cherubs at home needing you and then walking in whenever you need them?
I I have two sides of feelings when it comes to it. One of them is it's gratitude,
Mhm.
because I was traveling a lot, and being here means that I am with them. I get to snuggle my kids whenever I want it or whenever I have a break. Just before the call, I had just finished another call, and I immediately went downstairs to give them a kiss and come back. So this kind of little thing, they really help recharge me and gives purpose to what I'm doing. It reminds me of why am I working so hard? Why am I traveling so much when travel was allowed? That's they are the reason for my everything. So it really acts as a good reminder of emotional recharge to know that they're right there. On the other hand, we also have, my wife is an incredible woman, that's also working full time, and she has been so supportive of this journey that I'm in. We are growing, as reflected by the staff, which also means so much more work ahead of us, and happening right now, and many long nights, many early mornings, many nights not sleeping, and she has been supportive of making sure that things don't break down because of my absence at this point. So for me personally, it's really awesome because they're around, but I know that it's an even heavier not burden, as the kids themselves, but the act of not having a break has an emotional burden of not having time for yourself. Because then when I'm out of work, whenever opportunity I have, I'm going to be with the kids. I'm not really relaxing or resting, right?
Right.
This past weekend, I had for the first time a weekend that was a little quieter, in a long time, and I spent 20 hours building a playground outside, so they had where to what you work, what you play, and without having to go somewhere else. But we are blessed. They have everything that they need, and we have work, thankfully, and it's gratitude and guilt playing each other. Is like, I am grateful that I have it. Sometimes it's so stressful that then I feel guilty because you should be grateful. It's a interesting dynamic, to say the
So,
least.
well, I love that you just brought that up, because I mean, I'm usually never the person that talks about the work-life balance, because I always say that there's really not any balance. There's like something that has to be given up. But it's very rare that you hear it from a guy talking to it, and you said it so perfectly. So what advice would you give to a lot of the parents that are right now, this is we're going into week number 8 for some people, week number 10 for others. Everyone's working at home. Keyword, they're working, and school's letting out soon, for a lot of people. There's no vacations. They're still going to be home. And parents are just like, how do I keep the balance of I need to work. I really want to take care of my family. I love being home. Some people may not like being home. But I want to, like, how do we create balance? Like, what would be that advice that you'd say to a working parent, a single parent, a working parent, a grandparents? How do you do this? Like, how are you able to do it and smile at the end of the day?
I wish I knew. I think I'm a terrible person for advice because, just today, all I had for lunch was a thing of Nutella. So I
Not a
just,
bad lunch, my friend. Not a bad lunch.
not at all. I loved it. Yesterday, I didn't eat at all. So just like I'm not as good on doing the things like what in a way that society would be perceived as beautiful. I think that there is a lot of it that is just being okay with going with the flow, with just do it. I am, I was one of those that like, no, my kid's not gonna be on an iPad and watching YouTube or whatever. Right now, whenever she was like, here's the iPad, go for it. What do you want to watch today? Is it a horror movie? What do you want? And it goes for it. It's just being flexible to understand that it's okay, that we are all just trying to go by and go by in the best way that we can. I had a conversation with my wife this week. We are hitting a very critical milestone today, and the next few weeks for us, my entire team knows that we have no weekends, we have nothing of free time. So there's no balance. I cannot even advise anyone on balance because there isn't one. But I sat down with my wife. I sat down with my wife's family last night to talk about what's going to happen and how that really plays out. And of course, I want to do as much as I can to be there. And that's the other thing, having a partner that is really a team player with you, like, it's amazing. I wouldn't be doing any of this without Cassandra whatsoever. Well, that makes a huge difference, and I know I'm lucky for that. But overall, just go with it and just do what is best for you too. It's just, the kid's gonna be fine if they're eating popcorn tonight. They're gonna be okay if you're not cooking a high protein veggie or whatever meal. You don't have to be one of those. It's, as long as they're smiling, they're happy, they're fed, it's gonna be okay.
I think that's the best balance. I mean, that's the whole entire life balance that I would subscribe to, because it's real, and it's real. And as much as people want to post the perfect every single thing, it doesn't happen. And right now we're living in a world of no rules. The rule is no rule. You're just trying to make sure that everyone wakes up in the morning, everyone is looking good and looking healthy, and they're getting what they need. They feel 120% of love, and you're getting your work done. Getting your work done.
That's all we can do.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, again, you could have, I mean, you're a very smart man. I know you. You're a very smart man. You could have had any job. You decided to start a business. There's a lot of people out there right now that have great jobs, but the anxiety of thinking about going back to work, the positiveness of being at home, or just the thought of, you know what, I've always wanted to do my own thing. What would you say to a person that is considering starting their own business right now in this climate?
So I am very blunt when it comes to this. I don't think this is a journey for everyone. I think this has to be fulfilled by a burning desire to take lead of your own life when it comes to your professional life. It's not made for everyone, and that's okay, and doesn't make anyone better or worse. It's just not made. The sacrifice of the journey can be so much that there's no stability. Like, we are doing all of this here right now, and it's working. 3 months from now, we could completely go down, go under, and then that's it. There is no certainty whatsoever around it. And if that doesn't scare you, then it goes to the other part, which I think is really fun. I was never good at working for a company. I was never good at it. I was never satisfied, because I wanted to do things my own way, and I wanted to build, and I believed in things. And whenever you get into the red tape of other processes that I didn't think I could be wrong or right, it's relevant. It didn't work for me, and I wanted to do it different and break it through. So either would drive management crazy, or would drive me crazy by not being able to do that. So it just didn't work for me. And I missed when, before I left Brazil, I had a company there, which led me to Japan, and then to the US. So for me, it was always that missing piece that I needed it. And I'm the happiest when I'm doing this, even in the moments of complete despair. I am still happy doing this. I would say that it is of ultimate importance that you are talking with your partner. This is not a journey that affects only yourself. For me, the example that I just said, that I sat down with my wife and my wife's family, to prepare, is because everything affects everyone around you. So when you are, working overnight, it's affecting the people that are missing. It's affecting maybe your kids, affecting people that affects them. Like for me, I was talking to my wife's family, so they understood that I wouldn't be present and around all that much for the next few weeks. And what does that mean? So they don't add additional pressure in the process. So all of that matters. And it's so much easier if your partner is on board. And I can say from experience, because I've been married before, when the partnership is not in line with this side of you, it doesn't work. That's why I divorced my first marriage. And that's one of the reasons for which my second marriage works beautifully. It's because it's a partnership. And she understands that I could, I could freak out and be scared and say, you know what, I'm going to get a job. And I would stay there for 6 months, maybe a year. Mass Challenge was the longest job I've had in years, with 3 years there. So like I would stay for a little bit, and this urge and this burn would come back and would lead me to start again. And I can fail as many times as it takes, but I will start again and again and again. Because if this is the burn you have, just start doing it. There are so many people, Jodi included, they are willing to help you out to figure this out. There are very little answers for you, but it's a lot of opportunity to find those answers, to be this, tireless thinking of how can I fix that? What is this burning urgency that you have, that you are so passionate? And I know it became a cliche to talk about passion and entrepreneurship, but the passion side is more of a reminder that you don't give up because you are obsessed about getting that. So maybe instead of passion is obsession. You want to get it done, and people will tell you you're wrong, and people will tell you that it might not be. How many times I heard, and this, Jodi, when I started Adopets from the very beginning, that many people were coming, oh, it's a cute project, kind of a non-profit kind of thing, and all of that. 3 years later, we were in Techstars with other really relevant companies from a business potential standpoint, and it's people will tell you that it doesn't work. That's just their nature. And a lot of things didn't work. That only helps you shape the path of what you want to achieve, and not stopping until you do.
You're 120% right. Many, like, God, the list is long in regards of it's not going to work. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. I'm like, you know what? There's no doing it wrong or right. I mean, it's a different way of doing it. It's a different way of doing it. We are known as entrepreneurs and small businesses and startups and innovators to pivot. Something goes wrong, something's happening in the world, we can figure it out. What have you added, or what has been added to your life because of the pandemic? I mean, work life.
Wow, that's actually the reason for why we're growing. We had a pivot after Techstars, which was, we had a lot of a consumer focus before. With Adopets, where we have the experience of the person adopting, but it was the listing, the website, all of that, the apps was focused on the consumer. And then we decided to change it up. And it didn't change the technology per se, but it changed our mentality, our focus, our team, and how we spend our energy. And we became more of a B2B company serving directly the shelter that has those animals. And the process was working really well. We closed 2 really big clients, and our goal for the beginning of for the first half of 2020 was to launch this two. They are 2 of the largest shelters in America. Was to launch these guys, get it up and running, and prime the processes, and then go for scaling sales and things like that. Yeah. But a lot of the process was about the in-person experience, was checking in at the shelter, adopting when you are in person at the shelter. And they were scheduled to launch in the first week of April, and everything closed.
Ouch.
So we didn't lose the clients. Those were great partnerships that we have. But we had a moment of like, oh, well, so we could sit and wait until things go back to normal and we can launch that product back, or we could adapt, and we chose to adapt. And it took perseverance, in the sense that it's not like we had the idea right away. Oh, we already know how to do it. We had to.
Everyone assumes if you're a tech company, like I go, oh my God, they can do it so quickly.
And right. And it was like a week of just, all right, so what about this? And then we would kind of do some testing really quick on finding out, would that have an impact? Now, okay, what about that? What about that? And then suddenly we found this I wouldn't even say we found the answer. Suddenly we found a space in which we think we could really help. And that was the mentality. We can really help right here, which was this spot. Okay, all of the shelters are closed doors, but they still have animals and they still need to figure out how to get those animals adopted. So what if we use the online piece of our platform to completely remote, contactless, and roadside pickup kind of thing of the animals at the points. So we shift the platform focus to that, had to work on the technology really quickly to kind of adapt some of the points that had previous in-person dependencies to really be all online. And then some shelters that were not even in our initial partnerships that we had been forming, they were like, can we use it? I'm like, let's do it. And then one of them, which was incredible, became such an incredible part of what we were doing now in Oregon. The cat adoption team is a beautiful shelter in Oregon. They were like, we are closed and we need to get these animals out. Can you help us? And I was like, thinking on the process, let's design the process, let's do it the right way. And they were like, no, can we just like do in a couple of days? I'm like, all right, let's do it.
They didn't even test it out. They were like, we just need it right now.
It came testing on the road. Like they were forged by fire. Like they helped us really. They actually helped us cut out the bugs and kinks because they just went for it. And instead of the testing happening, was just happening in real life. But they sent an incredible email that I'm grateful for. That was just like, we were closed and now we are adopting animals again because of Adopets. And come on, that's what you work for. And I got goosebumps because that's truly what we have been working hard for I don't know, 3-4 years now. So it's an incredible, rewarding thing. And then we just kind of exploded from there, and we start closing other shelters and launching and them getting them ready to go because thankfully good service doesn't go unnoticed, and then people start asking and they are asking more, and we do this super hands-on support that we are answering them in the middle of the night, and that's me and my co-founder answering that stuff, right? And getting them ready and getting them comfortable, because it is a shift for them too, a shift of several years doing some other way and now going into Adopets, which makes it easier, but that is a mentality shift that has to happen. And it worked. Right now, today we had already 20 something conversations, and there's 10 more before the end of the day. We have a major event partnership that we're going to be making public soon by the end of this month, which is nationwide. We are expecting hundreds of organizations participating of that. So within 3 weeks, we have to onboard, train, get hundreds of organizations ready to go. And it's crazy, but it's rewarding. It's all that we have worked for.
I mean, I'm a dog lover. I mean, I do not have a dog, but I borrow, steal, literally all my friends' dogs. And if they need a babysitter, I'm that person. Auntie Jodi comes and gets the dogs. And I loved seeing, I do. I love seeing the photos of the shelters being empty. I love the I always say the acronym wrong,
SPCA.
Yeah, thank you. I love that they have a big truck in Manhattan and they're just giving away dog food to make sure, dog food, cat food, to make sure that the animals are fed, and don't let them out on the street. I love that the compassion is there, that people definitely want to make sure that these animals are safe somewhere. That in the South, they're coming up north because there's more people, there's more need up here for individuals that want pets. So I think this is absolutely fantastic in every single way. If like tomorrow comes, actually before I ask that question, you guys are working remotely. You've always had it this way. A lot of large companies are having the toughest time. It is week, again, 7, 8, 9 for some people, and they're just still having a tough time doing remote. People are getting Zoomed fatigue. And so what was the best way of getting your team on board so that way they could be creative, they could be constructive, productive, all online, being in remote areas, some people feel like, I feel lonely because they're so used to being in that corporate setting or in a medium-sized company. So what would be your thoughts about sharing, how does a company succeed when we're going to be online for quite some time?
Yeah, I would say it always starts with trust. We're never being a company that we're like tracking are you working right now at 4 p.m. because you're supposed to be working? We are not that kind of company, and it rewards back because we have an incredibly loyal team that, when we have to go 7 days a week, they are there. So it is trust, most of all, and the rest is processes. You have to be operational about enabling the online work when somebody cannot work because they don't have access to their internal servers, especially for larger companies, or if there are limitations to really execute on the work that they have. You just need to plan a little bit in advance and making sure that the processes are in place so it doesn't become a hurdle to just a burden to get into this online, and you get to be productive. It is about having and giving the flexibility and the understanding that for some people this is an extremely overwhelming shift. There are some social birds that they need to have the physical interaction and the interaction with other people. There are plenty of softwares that kind of try to replicate a little bit of that companionship through online conversations happening in real time, so you feel like you are working in a place with other people, and I guess openness to let people have their feelings, and let the overwhelming feeling when it happens is gonna hit, and not being the one to say, oh, but you're not on at 8 a.m. right now, so that's not gonna work. It's just people will deliver their work on their own time.
We touched upon it a little bit earlier, but I'm gonna bring it back again. Tomorrow, perfect world, everything goes back to normal. What's your first day look like?
A lot like now. A lot like today, honestly.
Like now. What do you mean, Jodi? It's just like now.
I mean, I'm gonna probably be on my computer, working and scheduling some trips right away for sure. One of them being, a rigging cruise ship for me, my wife, and my kids for a couple of days for reset. But some traveling. But overall, it's gonna be a lot like today. It's gonna be just working to make sure that I build the future I intend for my kids.
Beautiful. I love it. Last question. What is your ask? If you had to have something to ask the universe for yourself, for your company, what would the ask be?
Strength, resilience. I think it's what we need the most. Resilience to adapt, resilience because things will continue to change, and I ask that we can continue to be creative on that adapting sense of the things, and the strength to support the ones that have it worse than we do. And we can be a stronghold in this scenario where in Brazil, where I have some of my team members, is just as bad as the US, due to similar reasons. And it's just a lot happening, and I would ask for that strength so we can continue to support our people. My team, for instance, knowing that we were growing, when most companies are closing or firing people, that's a blessing that I don't take it lightly whatsoever. So if the universe could continue to give me and each one of us the strength to keep going, I would appreciate it.
Beautiful. Arturo, I adore you.
Right
Thank
back
you,
at you.
thank you. Thank you so very much for I know how busy you are, and you just took, time away from your family and time away from work just to speak to me. And I appreciate that. My number one goal is just to get all your stories out there, because I'm lucky. I'm lucky to be surrounded by amazing minds doing amazing things. And I want to make sure that as many people as possible can hear how globally you guys are nailing it. So
thank you, Jodi. And whenever you call, I'm gonna be there. I'm a big fan of you, your work, and who you are. So
you're the best. Thank you, my friend. Oh, and when this is all over, I am gonna come back because I feel that there is gonna be something that's different about when it opens. So I'm just curious, and I'm gonna circle back with everyone, despite you saying it's gonna be the same, but it probably won't be the same.
it probably won't be. I just have no idea. I mean, if it was tomorrow, yeah, but if you ask me about a month, like next month, I have no idea.
Well, despite, I'm still coming back and I'm going to find out. I'm going to ask everybody like a 5-minute, like, give me the update. What happened? What's the next thing? Just so be prepared.
I will be waiting
Okay.
for it.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for your time. And you are the best. I love my friends. I love my friends. I love my colleagues. I love the people that I meet every single day. So thank you.
We love you too.
Bye, darling.
Bye-bye.